Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 88 of the Technology for Good show. My co-host today is Chris Kernahan. I'm Tom Raftery. Chris, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Chris Kernahan. I'm a principal consultant at Bluefin Solutions, and I am an SAP mentor, which generally means during my day job, I get to play with lots of fun SAP technology, like in-memory databases and IoT platforms and things like that. And in my normal life, if it could ever be called normal, I generally play with other forms of technology like Raspberry Pis and stuff. So yeah, that's me.
All right, I'm Tom Raftery. I'm an independent analyst, consultant working in the energy and IoT spaces. And yeah, that's it. I play with technology in my spare time, and I play with technology with work, and do this show every week with Chris.
Absolutely, highlight of my week.
So likewise. So we've a bunch of stories to get through. Some interesting ones, a lot of interesting ones this week.
Yeah.
The first one is kind of a scary one, and it's this one where they're talking about how basically scientists can't believe the amount of warming that has happened in the Arctic this year or this last year. So this is a graph here from last month, from January. And you can see at the top of the graph here, the dark color there is something between 4 and 12 degrees of a temperature increase that's happened up at the top of the graph, up at the North Pole.
And I know we've joked about this in the past, but in all seriousness, 12 degrees in Ireland, people are out in shorts.
Yeah.
That is literally what we're talking about here at 12.9, nearly 13 degrees. That's a reasonable summer's day in Ireland in some places.
It is, and it's insane because there were several days over winter in the North Pole where the temperature didn't go below zero, or the temperature went above 0 degrees centigrade at least. So, that's 32 Fahrenheit. The temperature went above that, which is insane for the middle of winter at the North Pole.
Yeah.
But I mean, the article here says that, the January was it was an extraordinary month. It was the hottest year ever recorded, 2015, and January had the greatest departure from average of any month on record, according to NASA. The temperature anomaly is above 4 degrees C, higher than the 1951 to 80 average in that region. And they have this chart here of latitude versus zonal mean. In other words, shift away from the mean temperature. And you can see there that this is the equator. And as you go north, you suddenly, once you get past 60 degrees latitude, you start to get this, almost exponential rise in temperature. It's pretty mad. It's really insane stuff. The article goes on to talk about how you've had record low levels for sea ice. And in this chart here, the blue line is the sea ice extent in the Arctic. And you can see by January, February, it was more than 2 standard deviations below the 81 to 2010 average. So, sorry, it's kind of depressing stuff, isn't it?
Very, very depressing. So it is very, very depressing, and it's. No, I'm not even going to say anymore. I read a very scary. Not a very scary thing. When we look at things like this here, and we look at what was achieved in Paris and stuff like that there, and the presidential elections in the United States, you come to realize just how important the next president is in all these things, and I don't want to say I'm desensitized to it. Week in, week out, we look at this and it is scary. And I just want to see what's coming in 2016 and how we are going to change this stuff and make it better.
Cool. The other stories we saw, and we'll get off the bad news stuff now and onto better news. So there was this story in The Guardian talking about how fossil fuels are subsidized by $10 million a minute, according to the International Monetary Fund, the IMF. It's now the subsidies included in this are, the fact that the fossil fuel companies are not paying for the damage they're wreaking on the planet with the pollution that they're doing and people's health being affected by the pollution. But still, it's an incredible sum of money. And when you flip it on its head, the flip side of it is that if we stop subsidizing the fossil fuel industry, suddenly it becomes completely uncompetitive. And right there, that's a way to help spur renewable growth. If we take the money out of that 10 million a minute, take it out of the fossil fuels and pump it into renewables, and suddenly, they become extremely attractive.
Well, no, let's not even do that, okay? Because that's everybody would be up in arms about that. But we have seen the UK government remove subsidies or tax incentives for renewable projects.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's put the shoe on the other foot and remove similar things for petrochemicals and see what happens then.
Yeah.
That's just, it boggles my mind at 10 million a minute. And yes, a lot of it, or at least a reasonable amount of it, is indirect or opportunity cost.
Yeah.
Costs. So it's not direct money like governments are giving 10 million a minute. It's just the overall cost to the people is 10 million a minute, and that's a slightly different argument. But at the same time, there are subsidies going, and if we stop those subsidies, not even give them to renewable projects, then, as you said, it becomes completely uncompetitive.
Yeah. No, it's.
And the other thing is Nicholas Stern. If I have the same person, I think it is. He also did the Stern report for the UK government in the mid 2000s.
That's right.
Which is what a lot of Tony Blair and Gordon Brown's climate policies were actually based on, wasn't it? Or did they just wanted to ignore it? I can't remember.
Your audio is breaking up there, Chris.
All right, here, hold on. Let me try this. Oh, why? Is that any better?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So the Stern report is what I think the UK government commissioned the Stern report. It was widely applauded by most people, but I can't remember whether the government actually took any notice of it.
I know they didn't really. They didn't. I mean, they might have taken notice of it, but they didn't act on it. There hasn't been. I mean, I think, if I remember correctly, because this was around 2007 or 6 or 7 that the report was released. And I think Lord Stern in the report said that it would cost about 2% of GDP. And that figure would rise the longer it was put off. So.
Yeah.
He's been in this space for quite a while, knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was a very complete analysis. A lot of people actually thought it was very, very good.
Yeah,
they did. Not everybody agreed with the conclusions, but they couldn't actually fault I think the only people that actually faulted the outcome were Levitt and Dubner in the book Super Freakonomics, and Nigel Lawson, oddly enough, as well. I have one of his. I have one of his books. The only book of his I actually own, which is his Case for Climate Denial, which I actually couldn't finish.
Jesus.
I couldn't finish it. It was too much hard work. But anyway, let's move on to more interesting things. Yeah.
Let's move on. So we saw this week in the privacy space, we saw Apple lose a case where the FBI are trying to get them to break into and write a backdoor for the phone of one of the 2 perpetrators of the shooting in San Bernardino.
Yes. Yeah.
And Apple are reluctant to do so. And Tim Cook wrote a letter outlining why.
Yeah.
And it was a very coherent letter, I have to say. I read it, and it made a lot of sense why they don't want to do it, because they fear it would be the thin edge of the wedge, and that it would be impossible to write a backdoor for one phone and be sure that it wouldn't be used for all other phones, which would basically render the encryption on any iPhone in the world mute.
I've done a lot of reading into this, and this is a fascinating story. And like all of these fascinating stories, the devil is so much in the detail.
Yeah.
So this is a 5C, which uses the A6 chip, not the A7. The way the A6 chip handles the encryption is different to how the A7 handles it. So, but that is completely material. He is absolutely right in saying that if they provide this fix, it means that all the iPhone 5Cs and 5s are susceptible to it. Now, the later generation ones, because of the way the A7 handles the encryption, it doesn't actually, from the analysis I've read, it doesn't work. But the point is still that it's about cracking somebody's phone and creating a piece of software that will do it, and what that means longer term. And it's such a difficult decision, because the arguments are so emotive around it.
Yeah, I mean, the way it's being framed is that Apple don't want to help the police catch terrorists, and that's obviously ridiculous.
Yeah.
And the as the article that I was pointing to said, Apple aren't alone in this. Facebook, Twitter, and also Google have come out and said, that they are behind Apple on this. Microsoft released a statement as well, but it was very mealy-mouthed. It didn't go far enough that you could actually say that they back Apple in this. But Google, Facebook, and Twitter are all behind Apple, saying, yeah, no, Apple are right in this.
Yeah, so I do agree. I think they are right in it. I think that, but a lot of the people who are reading this and things like that there are not, as I said, the devil is in the detail with this. What a lot of people don't seem to understand is that there are people who say, there shouldn't be any door that the government can't get in through. They're saying that it's like a lock in a door. But the thing about it is that the encryption, the software is the same for everybody. So it's not like giving them the key that only open 10 doors in the world. It's actually giving them the keys to open every single door in the world.
Yeah.
And people say, yes, we have to get warrants and things like that. But the point about it is that if the government, even if the government do observe due process and things like that there, and I made the comment to a friend of mine yesterday, do you think that the lowly paid civil servant who is part of the process for this isn't going at some point to think, I could make an awful lot more money in this if I sold this to criminals?
Yeah. And in any case, let's be honest here. If they wanted to crack that phone,
they could.
They absolutely could. They don't need Apple to do it for them.
No. Given the revelations we've seen with the NSA and how inventive their people are, so seriously smart people.
Yeah. There are applications out there already that can do this. Yeah. So this isn't what the FBI are actually after at all.
No, of course.
What the FBI are after is legal precedent.
Yeah, it's a Trojan horse.
Yeah. So it's
legislative Trojan horse.
Yeah. So, it's a very nuanced story, I gotta say, and Apple could have rolled over and said, sure, no problem, but they decided not to, and kudos to them for that.
Yeah. Well, again, they know that it's a Trojan, it's a stalking horse. This is not what it's actually about. It's something so much more.
The other thing is, Apple have taken a lot of flack in this from Donald Trump, so they're on the right side of the argument. When they're being attacked by Donald Trump. So if you don't need to hear anything else about it, just understand that Apple or Donald Trump is against Apple, so therefore they're obviously doing something right.
Well, to be fair, Apple as a company is worth far more than anything else that Donald Trump actually owns. So he hates them just by implication even to start with. So, but no, it is such an interesting story, and I advise everybody to read as much as they can about it, because this affects not just your life, but the lives of your children in the future, about what people will have access to, people can record everything. And as we move to, we're talking about IoT platforms offline and stuff like that there. This has massive implications for that.
Yeah, it does.
The amount of structured data you're sending in and out of the world is just phenomenal. So this is a very, very important ruling, massively. And with the death of Chief Justice Scalia the weekend, that means that the Supreme Court is boxed 4-4.
Yes,
Liberals and Conservatives, which means the lower appellate court ruling stands, which is currently stacked with Liberals, thanks to Obama in the last 8 years. So, wow. I mean, legislatively, this is just new. Case law-wise, I would love, if this got fast-tracked to the Supreme Court, the judgments and the dissents would be amazing. Absolutely fascinating. But,
we'll have to see how it goes.
Yeah, definitely.
In the meantime, if you do own an iPhone, for example, there's a very good guide here on upgrading the passcode to defeat to make it more secure. Let's leave the FBI out of this. And one of the things it advises, this is a long enough article, and it advises basically that you, it actually breaks it down here how long it takes to break a passcode, which is interesting. So it says a 7-digit passcode will take 9 days, or an average 4.6 days, but up to 9 days. An 8-digit passcode will take 3 months, or up to 3 months. 9-digit will take up to 2.5 years. 10-digit up to 25 years. 11-digit up to 253 years, and on average 127 years. 12-digit, 13-digit, and so on. So obviously, the longer you make your passcode, the better.
Yes.
What's even better than that is not to make a long, say, 13-digit passcode, but rather to make an alphanumeric.
Yes.
Because alphanumerics are far more difficult, again, to crack than just digit ones.
Do you know the only thing that annoys me about the passcode, right? So if you have a 4-digit passcode on Apple or your fingerprint, right, it unlocks straight away.
Yep.
If you customize the passcode at all, you have to hit the tick, which doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Because I've used I have my iPhone and my iPad, and I have a alphanumeric passcode. But right. I have to press the tick, and it seems like a little thing, but when you go from a 4-digit passcode and it lets you in to having a 9-digit alphanumeric, and you still got to hit the button, it's annoying.
Well, I didn't realize that. I mean, mine is well over 8 characters long, alphanumeric as well, and
touch thing.
Yeah, I use the Touch ID, which actually this article advises against, because right at the end of the article, it gives a number of tips about things to do.
Yeah.
And there's some good ones there. The first thing it says is, turn on the erase all data after 10 failed passcode attempts.
Yes, have that.
Yeah, that's good. Make sure you don't forget your passcode, obviously. Don't use Touch ID. Because
it's okay. My passcode's on a post-it note underneath my keyboard. All right.
Yeah, but if you do use Touch ID, it says at least one court has ruled that while they can't compel you to disclose your passcode, they can compel you to use your fingerprint to unlock the smartphone.
Wow, nice.
Yes. Which is a very subtle difference.
It is.
And a reasonably obvious one: don't use iCloud backups. So when you plug your phone in to iTunes, you have the option of doing a local backup, using iTunes or doing a remote backup using iCloud. The advantage of the iCloud backup is that it can be restored from anywhere, and it can be backed up from anywhere. So, if you're traveling and you plug your phone in overnight in a hotel, it'll use the hotel's Wi-Fi and back up to iCloud, and that's handy.
Yeah.
The disadvantage, of course, is it's a remote backup, so it can be accessed by anyone.
Exactly, and let's not forget, and the cautionary tale that is the movie Sex Tape.
Yes.
Had the problem with iCloud backups, and that showed you can restore it from anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what they're saying. The last thing as well: do make local backups, and especially encrypt the local backups, because that's easy to do. It's just you add on a passcode to it, and it's automatically encrypted then. So got some good tips there on making your phone a little bit more secure.
A lot of those things, and I have to be honest, is like I use Windows Server, home server, so then I'm able to back up all my devices, and all those backups are encrypted.
Right.
So they are. It's just these are things that we should do that are just good practice. I'm not even going to say best practice. They're just good and sensible practice.
Yeah. So, curious on that, the Windows Home Server that you're using there.
Yeah.
Are you backing up your iDevices onto that? Are you just using that for storage, for backing them up, or how does that work?
So I do. So what happens is the iDevice.
Is it a mapped drive or?
No, it's a mapped drive. So what happens is the iPad gets backed up to the desktop and on an encrypted backup. And then the desktop itself, I have specific folders that get backed up on the desktop. But those backups, when they are done, are encrypted. So they are. So I need to present certain things in order to actually access the backups.
Cool.
So it's good actually. It's one of those things. And then obviously it used Dropbox and stuff like that there. So.
Yeah, no, it's good practice.
Totally.
So moving on, New York's rolling out these public Wi-Fi hubs all over the city.
Gigabit, I think, are those the gigabit ones, the gigabit Wi-Fi? Or there's one that's absolutely stonkingly fast.
They're about 400 meg, I think, or 500 meg, depending on how close you are to them and things like that. But yeah, they are very fast. And right now, they're not seeing a lot of use because they're just starting to be rolled out. As they become more commonplace and as more people use them, you get more contention, and they'll drop in speed, obviously. The thing about them is, once you sign in once to any one of them, your phone remembers the credentials and signs you in automatically to the rest of them throughout the city.
Yeah.
So, it's like a single sign-on idea. You're signing in on one of them, will sign you in on any of them, which is nice.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is they've come with these little tablets as well, little Chrome tablets, little touch screens, which are weatherized and rugged, and they allow you to log in, to send emails, to log into Skype. You can see in this picture here, there's 2 USB ports if you want to plug in your phone. So there's a lot of cool things in them. The tablets apparently are made by this company called Intersection, a company that leads a consortium called CityBridge that operates and funds the whole project. And they've been tested to withstand all kinds of stress and temperature and water and the whole thing.
Yeah.
And they said that the tablets will be updated to include new features and so on and so on. So it seems like a really nice initiative, I must say. Not just the fact that they've got Wi-Fi, but now they have tablets there as well.
Yeah. The only thing that sort of concerns me about this type of stuff is, you're constantly told not to jump on unknown hotspots. At the end of the day, the only thing that actually designates the hotspot is the SSID of the hotspot that's broadcast. So I remember TechEd 2 years ago in Las Vegas, the one that we did the podcast at 7 a.m.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, we'll leave that one. But I had to check in online, and I went across. I was in the mall across the way, and the only Wi-Fi hotspot that I actually trusted throughout the whole mall was the one that was in the Microsoft store.
Okay.
So it was simply because because I didn't know any of the other shops or anything like that there, and it could have been anybody. I know that all the Microsoft stores, like the Apple stores, have free Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So I jumped on that. But if somebody actually has, if you have a more powerful transmitter, then you can override the signal of anything, and that's the only thing that will concern me. But other than that, it's brilliant. I used this in Barcelona at Tech Ed last year, because obviously the metro area in Barcelona has free Wi-Fi. And it is just stonking. You don't get lost. You don't use up all your data. You can do, I can video call with my wife and things like that. It was just so handy.
Yeah. Totally.
It is really, really handy, but it's just, getting one or two people in more questionable areas of New York, actually subverting the transmitter for their own ends, doing man-in-the-middle attacks.
Yeah, and law enforcement can be doing that too. It's not just bad guys.
Well, yes, exactly, on the whole privacy front and things like that there. So just be careful what you're streaming.
We've seen how many thousand Stingrays did they deploy in New York last year? Jesus,
I don't know.
Yeah, I forgot the number as well, but it was a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. But it's funny actually. Of all the police forces in sort of, especially in America, the NYPD is very, very well very well technologically organized.
Yeah, very well resourced.
Very well resourced. So they are not the sort of people I'd like to pit my wits against. Primarily because there's just so many of them. Yeah. It's a bit like Jeremy Hunt taking on the NHS. Ta-da!
Jeremy what?
Hunt. Let's enunciate that correctly so that there is no misunderstanding about what I feel about him.
With a silent C, yeah?
Yes, absolutely. But
we'll go on. So the next story talks about Samsung's Gear S2. It's a smartwatch, obviously.
Yeah.
And they're building in an eSIM, an electronic SIM. So you don't have to change SIM cards if you want to change provider of connectivity for the device.
Yes.
So you no longer need a physical SIM card. You've got this eSIM built into it, an embedded SIM.
Yeah.
And we're now seeing that the GSMA, the Alliance of GSM Providers, are coming up with a standard for embedded SIMs, and the standard will allow all GSM companies to work with embedded SIMs. And at the moment, you have people like Samsung, LG, Microsoft, Huawei, mobile carriers like AT&T, Verizon, Vodafone, Deutsche Telekom, Telefonica, and EE all on board with this one. So
that's a large amount of backing.
Yeah. So it's awesome. I mean, the idea of having an embedded SIM as opposed to having to have a physical SIM. I mean, I go to Ireland all the time. All the time. I go 2 or 3 times a year, and I've got my Irish SIM card here and my phone here. So this one's got the Spanish SIM in it. On the plane, I take this out, take out the SIM card, open up the phone, swap SIMs, land in Ireland, and I'm on the Irish number, and it's messy. It's no big deal, but it's messy. But the ability to have a programmable embedded SIM is a much better one, I think.
Well, it is. We in the wake of all the Snowden revelations, the biggest SIM producer in the world announced that they had actually been hacked. It wasn't sure whether it was a state sponsored or whether it was something else, but they very quickly came back after a couple of days and said, yeah, no, everything's fine, it's all good. And everybody was like, really? That type of forensic investigation usually takes months, and you come back in a couple of days. We're calling bullshit. But the thing about it is that it was the encryption keys, the GSM encryption keys that were actually compromised, or that's what people feared. So when you get to an eSIM like this here that is programmable, then in the event, you can actually change the keys.
Yeah.
So you can actually as the standards change, or as encryption gets better, or different algorithms are shown to be better, then you can actually change the algorithm that's actually on the chip and keep it up to date and things like that there. Similarly, you can also break it, but the point is that we'll be positive and say this is actually a really good thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
no, it is. And there's more cool news as well on a similar front. Well, not really. Sticking with comms, so Google Translate have updated, and they now have new language support. They've got 13 new languages. The languages are some I haven't heard of, I have to say.
I haven't heard of Luxembourgish, but I think that is an awesome name for a language.
Exactly.
What's Luxembourgish?
Amharic?
Yes.
Any idea what that is?
No.
No, I don't know. It looks Gaelic of some kind, with the MH there in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
Corsican, Frisian.
Yep.
Kyrgyz, obviously from Kyrgyzstan. Hawaiian, Kurdish, Luxembourgish, Samoan, Scots Gaelic. Shona, I've no idea.
I think it's Pacific again.
Sindhi, presumably Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
Pashto is it's from Pakistan, I think, or that region.
Yeah.
And Xhosa, which is South African.
Afghanistan. It's actually the national language of Afghanistan.
Pashto is?
Yeah, Pashto.
Wow.
Google that.
There you go.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're all supported now by Google Translate. And then it's not just Google Translate, because Microsoft have brought out their translator app now as well. And I tried it out. It's not bad. It's slow. It's not as fast as Google Translate, but they're only just starting out with it. And it's got this interface with the microphone, the keyboard, the kind of speech thing, and the camera. So you can point your camera at signs and things like that, and it'll do OCR and translate them for you. The microphone one is the usual, what you'd expect. You just speak into the microphone, and it recognizes what you say, kind of, some of the time, and and translates it for you. It's not great, frankly. The keyboard is just what you'd expect, and the one with the speech bubbles there keeps it's side by side translation. So you type in on one side, and it shows it up on the other side of the screen. So it's a bit of a gimmick, I think. It's a UI thing.
I was in Paris last week for 2 days, and my French is horrific with a Belfast accent. It's just it's butchering one of the most beautiful languages in the world. Thankfully, I don't speak Italian or attempt to at all. I'll speak Italian. But the point is that it does remove some of the fun of actually trying to speak another language. As I said, my French is horrific. I used to speak French fluently. One of my best friends when I was a teenager was French, and so I spoke French as fluently as a 17-year-old boy can. But it does take a little bit of the fun out of it. I was able to get around Paris and make myself understood and things like that in quite broken, halting French, and the Parisians love it. The Parisians of anybody in the world really appreciate trying to speak their language.
Yeah,
and it is quite good fun. I think this might take some of the fun out of life, but at the same time, I can see where it is very appropriate, especially in a business setting or something like that. You really don't want to get it wrong.
Yeah. And even if you've forgotten a word or something like that, it can be very handy, because if you're trying to construct a sentence and you're missing one or two vital words in the sentence, you can just pull it up very quickly using either Google or Microsoft Translate. It's one of the advantages that the Microsoft Translate has on Android, not on iOS yet, but they say it's coming to iOS as well, is that it'll do offline translation for you.
Yes,
that's quite nice. The Android one doesn't have, I think, if I remember correctly, the Android one doesn't have the camera with the OCR yet. So the Android one is going to get the camera and OCR very soon, and apparently the iOS one is going to get the offline translation. Google Translate doesn't have offline translation, so that's a very nice to have.
Yeah, no, it doesn't have the offline translation because it sends everything to the Google servers.
Yeah, it does.
So, because to be honest with you, most of Google's stuff requires a connection because I quite often use the text, the Google Voice when I'm in the car, and it's very, very handy, but only when you have a connection to Google.
Right. Okay. Same thing. Apple are the same. Any of their stuff like that has to go back to Apple.
Yeah.
To be worked on and then sent back to you, which slows it down. The round trip is, I can understand why it has to happen, but it does slow it down.
Yeah.
Anywho, we'll move on because Skype have now announced that you can have multiple video chats, not multiple video chats with lots of people on them, on mobile phones and tablets. So it's nice because you can have up to apparently 25 people on a single Skype video call.
Wow,
which is insane. I mean,
that is pretty impressive.
Yeah. I'm not sure how you'd manage 25 people on a video call, but you can if you are so inclined, apparently. So, that's pretty awesome, I gotta say. I think video calling is one of these things, using either Skype or FaceTime or Hangouts either. I think Facebook have an option as well.
We talked about it. We talked about it last week, actually, about the infrastructure that would underpin that.
That's right. And I think it's one of those things that, while it was in all the science fiction movies in the 50s and 60s, now that the technology is here, we're a little slow to adopt it.
Yeah.
If you go to call someone, you don't go for the video call first thing unless you are very familiar with the person, and I think we have certain conventions built up around telephony over years, which are going to take a while to break down, I guess.
Yeah, I use it a lot with my with Anna and with Lorna, simply because it's just I find it. It's much better for Anna because Anna's too young to actually hold a phone. Yeah. It's the size of her head. So doing Hangouts is just so much more appealing. But you're right. And the other thing is that most of the video calls tend to be person to person, not groups.
Yeah.
Literally. So you do sort of sit and you think, well, how many people are actually going to use this all the time? But at the end of the day, they have to do something to keep up because this field is just it has so many players in it. It's a highly fragmented field in many respects.
Yeah.
Because you have Viber, you've got WhatsApp, you've got Facebook, we have Hangouts, we have FaceTime, we have Skype, we've got Join Me and GoToMeeting and all this type of stuff. And it's just there are a plethora of options available to you, and they have to keep up with the features.
Yeah, and of course, it being Microsoft, and they've got their Link platform as well.
The less said about that product, the better.
I've never used it, I have to say, so I'll take your word on that one.
Do you know, I am a long time Link user. Going right way back to Microsoft Communicator, we used it at Capgemini and at SAP, and we use it at Bluefin. And I have seen the product grow and all the rest of it, and it has some wonderful features, and it is actually really good. It depends heavily just how it's implemented and where it's implemented. It's the same as SAP. There are people who hate SAP, but it was just implemented really badly in that place, and there are other people that love it.
Right.
I sit on the fence. I think it has its place. So it very definitely has its place as an IM tool for me to communicate with people. It's great. But it's not a collaboration tool. So if I want collaboration, I use Slack.
Gotcha. Yeah. Cool. Interesting. The next story I thought that grabbed my attention this week was the this one as he struggles to share it. And I think it's a pretty cool one.
Yeah.
So what this is that Google have their Cloud Vision API. It's entered beta and it's now open to everyone to try, as the headline says. What their Cloud Vision API does is it allows developers to connect cameras up to Google's AI and have those cameras see and recognize what it is they're looking at. You know, or images either. It doesn't have to be cameras. So and they have a video about it. Further down here, there's a video explanation of it, and they have a little robot here with stereoscopic cameras, and you know the lady in the video holds up images, or not holds up objects in front of the robot, and the robot speaks what they are. It recognizes bananas, and it recognizes, you know, all the different things that she shows it. It's really impressive. And you know, that's using, I think it's a Raspberry Pi on board the little robot.
That's the poster child robot from the Raspberry Pi org.
Yeah, there you go. So it using the APIs, it can recognize objects and say what they are. So it's you know, and this is now open to anyone. So you can have any app that you write, or any device that you create, use these APIs, and suddenly they can, your apps or your devices can start looking at things and recognizing what they are.
Yeah, no, that was brilliant. DJ Adams pointed this out on Slack today, and it took me a while to sort of to come around to what it is they were actually doing and why it was important. And I think that for me, it comes down to the fact, you know, it's just being able to recognize images, and for the what it means for things like machine learning and stuff like that is very, very interesting.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting indeed. Because the other thing is that so much of the content that we're actually putting out there at the moment are images. You know, they're pictures of ourselves or things that we see and things like that. You know, it's not just text. So having a way to deal with that, or being able to work with it, is so important.
Yeah, and it has a number of things. If you look at this image here, so looking at this woman's face, you know, it says joy, likelihood, very likely. So, you know, she looks happy. It's recognizing emotion. It's doing OCR on the sign here. OCR, sorry, abierto is Spanish for open. And then it's also doing geo tagging as well, or recognizing geotag. So it recognizes that this shot was taken in Spain. So, you know, there's a lot of different parameters it can get from an image.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
It is absolutely massive. Huge capabilities, huge capabilities.
Particularly when, you know, we're all walking around now with cameras.
Exactly.
You know, so because any app now that's written for this can use the Google Cloud or the Google Vision Cloud. You just, anything that's using that, you just point your camera at whatever it is, and boom, it's, you know, the possibilities are endless.
Yep.
Moving on, Twitter had an announcement this week as well, and I think, you know, it's Twitter kind of recognizing to a certain extent that, you know, part of what its app is actually used for. For the longest time, people have used Twitter to bitch and moan.
I was going to say complain, but bitch and moan is a completely different way of doing it. I bitched and moaned at City Jogger about their prams today, so yes, I'll go with that.
There you go. And what they're doing is they're making it easy for companies to, once, you know, somebody bitches and moans or complains about them, they can include a link for a private message to the person who's doing so. So it can reply to the person who's bitching and moaning and say, look, click on this link to send me a private message, and I'll take a look at it for you. So, it makes the company appear more responsive. It makes it easier for the company to engage with whoever's having the problem and help them out.
Well, again, like I've just changed my mobile phone contract, and I'm with EE now. I transferred away from 3, and I was, as I said earlier on last week, it was in Paris. It was the first time I was taking the phone traveling, and I landed in Paris, and lo and behold, I had no data and I had no voice. Because they hadn't enabled
international.
I bought the international bolt-on for me to ring international numbers, but not for me to have roaming enabled, so I could ring from a different country to any number. So the only recourse I had was actually Twitter on the free airport Wi-Fi, and EE thankfully managed to help me out. And as I said, I was transferring mobile, so I still had the original 3 SIMs, so I slotted that out in the way I went. But I find as a facilitation of customer service, Twitter was fantastic, and it was the only way I was able to communicate out.
Mad, isn't it?
So it was very handy, and I think this is brilliant, because it means that I don't have to follow a brand to get direct messages, or to enable them to direct message me. Because I don't have my anybody can DM me turned on.
Yeah, exactly. I think most of the brands probably do at this point.
Yeah, but they do, but I don't. So I think I have to follow them
so they can reply. Yeah.
So this just makes that handier.
Yeah. And as well as that, they also rolled out a customer feedback thing on it as well. Again, to help companies to get feedback once they have dealt with an issue. So doing the full circle. Now that we've dealt with your issue, give us some feedback on how we helped you out. So yeah, it's a little add-on for that as well, for anyone who's doing that kind of stuff. Firefox is now available. Well, it has been available for a while on iOS. A lot longer on Android, but there was an issue with iOS. In fact, Brendan Teich, is that how you pronounce his surname? The former CEO of Firefox said that they would never develop for iOS.
Oh, I can't remember. I think it is actually. Yeah.
Teich, I think that's Teich. Anyway, he said that they would never develop for iOS. Then he left.
Yes. Yes, he left.
Under unfortunate circumstances for him. And they developed an iOS, a Firefox for iOS, which arrived late last year. I think November it went for general availability. And now you've got Firefox 2.0 for iOS, just been released with 3D touch support, password manager, and search improvements. So, I mean, I don't care so much about the 3D touch.
Yeah.
But the fact that you've got decent search and a password manager built into it, that's important, because if you're syncing passwords, if you're able to sync passwords across platforms, then it becomes useful.
Yeah, it does. It does, and it's with a lot of people are scrabbling to find cross-platform password managers since LastPass was bought.
Yeah.
Which I would have said was probably the best cross-platform supported password app.
Yeah. I use 1Password. That's cross-platform as well, though. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's to my mind, it's almost as good as LastPass.
Yeah.
Anywho. Not just do we now have a decent Firefox on iOS, we also have PayPal, both iOS and Android, and it's got a half-decent app now as well. They had an app before, but they've completely rewritten it, basically from the ground up. It's not that they reskinned it, it's not that they upgraded it, it's that they literally threw out the old app and started fresh and completely rewrote a new app.
Yeah.
I haven't used PayPal on mobile. Have you?
I have actually, and I've actually found I find the experience to be pretty good.
Okay.
So,
What circumstances would you use it for? Because I don't use PayPal very much. I gotta say, I've used it to send gifts to relatives and things like that the odd time.
Yeah, I've used it with my I actually use it with my my childminder. So what happens is I've got a standing order for the monthly the monthly average, and then my childminder sends me an invoice, and whatever the delta is, I just send to her over PayPal.
Handy.
So yeah, it is. It's really handy, actually, very handy indeed. So because you know yourself, you're with the best of intentions, when sometimes emergency arises, and you've got to ask your childminder to go above and beyond, and that usually requires funding. So that seems very bad. So it does. That seems true. My childminder is awesome, and she's a lovely, lovely woman, and she's been really, really good. But yeah, when you do ask for additional hours and things like that, there, obviously that's paid for. So I use PayPal to make up the shortfall.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. It seems a very specific use case. I'm just wondering how general it is for people to use PayPal and mobile and what they use it for. I mean, they mentioned in the article using it for mobile shopping, and that's not something I've come across. Have you ever been in an outlet where they take PayPal?
No, God, no. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't even think to ask with contactless payment and things like that. No, why would I need to? I just take the card out, bang, away I go. I would use PayPal when I'm buying on Amazon or on eBay or something like that. I would use PayPal. So I would, especially if I'm on eBay. But that's obvious in many respects to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But
and why on Amazon as opposed to using a credit card?
I don't know. I don't really have a good answer to that.
Okay.
No, I don't. I'll tell you why, actually, because the PayPal account is linked to a specific account. So that is, if I'm doing if I'm doing Christmas shopping or whatever, so there's a Christmas account, as it were. If I'm doing Christmas shopping and things like that, there, it's sometimes linked to it would be linked to my PayPal account. So if I didn't have the credit card to hand or anything like that, therefore, if you're doing deliveries to different addresses, it asks for confirmation. So even though I may have the credit card saved, so if I was to send you something which I'd never sent to you before, if I've never used your address before, Amazon would ask me for additional information, like re-enter the credit card number. If I didn't have the credit card to hand, I would just pay for it over PayPal.
Okay. You should test that. Send me something.
Something I would have actually sent you that book in ethics, but unfortunately we were both in
Orlando.
No, Barcelona.
Barcelona, yeah.
So yes, right. Mr. Stabel. So.
All right, we move on. IBM bought another health company, Truven Health Analytics, for $2.6 billion, and are taking all the information and the employees and adding them into their Watson Health division. The company gets access to Truven's cloud-based data repository, also 2,500 employees and 8,500 clients, including US federal and state government agencies, employers, health plans, hospitals, clinicians, and life sciences companies. So hence $2.5 billion. Sounded like a lot until you read out that list.
Yeah.
They've got a ton of data on types of cost, claims, quality and outcomes of information. So it's basically they're just taking as much, they're finding as much cloud data as possible and just grabbing it all and throwing it into Watson, so Watson knows everything and anything possible about health.
Yeah, the fascinating thing is that we when you look at this amount of data, right? this data is really, really good for predictive at an individual level, but it's also, when you look at the insurance companies and things like that, the models that these people can now come up with that amount of data would be so valuable to the insurance industry. Yeah. Massively important to the insurance industry. You really do get into this this idea of personalized health and things like that, simply just because of the amount of data and the predictive that they can actually run against it. It is absolutely phenomenal. It is absolutely insane.
It is. And I mean, the whole area of artificial intelligence is really, we're at the very start of it. Let's be honest. It's going to, improve exponentially in the next 2-3 years, year in, year out. It's going to be amazing to watch. And the IBM have teamed up with the X Prize Foundation now.
Yes, the AI prize, isn't it?
To do an AI competition. So they've opened it up during this week on Wednesday. It was Peter Diamandis from the X Prize Foundation and David Kenny jointly announced the launch of a new X Prize competition focused on artificial intelligence, and they've a $5 million prize. It's called the IBM Watson AI Prize. And it's inviting teams from around the world to come up with their own challenges and demonstrate AI's potential to impact people's lives. Unlike previous X Prize competitions, where they have very specific rules and definitions and requirements from the solution, this one doesn't. It's very open-ended, and it's basically, they're saying, knock yourself out, come up with what you think AI will do best, and we'll have a competition and see who comes up with the best use of AI to impact people's lives.
Yeah, no, it's one of those ones. The X Prize Foundation is, their competitions are amazing. I think they are the moonshot. And some of the stuff they're sponsoring and things like that is just absolutely insane. The AI prize is one of those ones that is, it's probably closer than any of the other ones that they really go for in many respects because of the advances that we're making.
Yeah.
It feels a lot closer. I don't think this X Prize is going to stay around unclaimed for all that long. There are other X Prizes that have been out there for years. I think is there still an X Prize for the 100 miles per gallon car or something? There's a competition for that. There was the X Prize for the what was it, the supersonic flight, and
the tricorder, the medical tricorder, that's going to be judged this year, I think.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be an interesting one, but the comments on this one are also quite interesting.
I didn't read those. Article. So just on your point though, they do say in the article here that the 3 finalists will present at TED 2020, so that's our cutoff date.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So they have 4 years to develop something.
Yeah, I would be surprised if it lasted that long. I've got to be honest with you. Some of the people that are actually working in this field, we have IBM, we have Google, we have Apple, we have Microsoft, we have loads of very smart startups doing some amazing things. I would be shocked if this lasted as long as 4 years. I'd be disappointed, I think, if it lasted as long as 4 years.
Yeah.
So it would be, I don't think it'll last that long. So I'd be surprised.
Cool.
I'm setting a challenge to the world.
Even better.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we're almost there. 3 stories left. We have a story about Neverware, and their software that basically turns old laptops into Chromebooks. Essentially, you can't technically call them Chromebooks because that name belongs to Google and it's a trademark and it's reserved. But you can take their software. There's a link at the end of the article to where you can download the Neverwhere software. You can stick it on older machines and suddenly give them a new lease of life. They have the Chrome software as their OS. It's a replacement OS, and it doesn't have, you know, big hardware requirements, and it turns the old laptop or whatever into a much faster operating machine now. This is something I got to try this weekend because we have a 2008 MacBook Air, which when that if I remember correctly, that was the year they brought out the first MacBook Air, and we bought this as a refurb. So it was a 2008 MacBook Air refurb, and the first MacBook Air was not a fast device when it shipped. So, you know, you can imagine now, 8 years later, what it's like. Not great. So, yeah, I might take some time this weekend and see if I can, you know, get that up and running at some kind of decent level once more by sticking this Neverwhere software onto it. I'll report back next week.
Good, actually, it does look good.
Yeah, I'll report back next week how I get on.
Cool.
So we'll go on. This story made a lot of headlines this week, and it's about and this kind of broke my head. 5D data storage, and it's using nanostructured glass. I'm tempted to say whatever that is. Basically, what it is it's a new kind of ultra dense data storage on what's essentially non-destructible data storage. You've got these little discs. You can see them there in the photograph.
Yeah,
and they hold about 360 terabytes with thermal stability up to 1,000 degrees centigrade, and virtually unlimited lifetime at room temperature. You know, 13.8 billion years at 190 degrees C.
Yeah.
So, you know, in terms of data archiving, it's pretty impressive. The 5D, which, as I say, confused me a bit, the 5D refers to the information being realized in 5 dimensions, the normal 3 dimensions plus the size and orientation of the nanoparticles within the glass are where you get your 5D.
Right. Okay. So you've got
length. The 3 dimensions in space.
Yeah.
And then size and orientation of the particles. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a bit mad, but it works really well apparently. And 360 terabytes in something that small is not to be sneezed at. It's archival. It's not read write. It's not. You won't get it in your hard disk anytime soon. But for archival purposes, it's really impressive.
Here's the one challenge, and this is something that I always have a problem with. Is that, the way we go through formats, the way that we go through different technologies, means that there is no guarantee that that's actually going to still be readable. I was reading a piece during the week while I was sitting in Heathrow. If I was in Heathrow, that would have been Tuesday. I was in Heathrow on Tuesday and reading a piece around how in the 90s and early 2000s, the British Library were writing onto Laserdisc.
Oh yeah.
And they're having a problem with the Laserdiscs at the moment. They actually retrieve the information. I'm going to go on mute for a minute. No,
I mean, I think they call it data rot, and it's fascinating because, I mean, we've all experienced it. I mean, if you have floppy disks at home, either the 5 1/4 or the 3.5 inch floppy disks, can you read them now? I threw out a bunch of them the other day because they're no longer readable. With no devices capable of reading them. Similarly, with the optical discs, zip disks, and things like that. Similarly with VCRs. Do you have a VCR player in your house? I know I don't.
I do.
Do you? Yeah.
I do. I still do. Although on the desktop, on the laptop, I think I only have one CD-ROM left.
Yeah,
so
likewise.
Player, or DVD-ROM rather. I have one floppy disk drive left,
Wow.
and I have one VCR left. So and one DVD player.
Yeah, the only DVD player that we have, well, we have an external reader which you could use to read DVDs. But other than that, the games console, the Xbox, has a built-in DVD player as well, so could use that if needed. Finally, the last story that I came across that I thought was worth mentioning is this one out of London.
Yes.
And it's the LoRa base station. LoRa is it's a radio base station, which basically it allows IoT transmissions within about a 5-kilometer radius, and it's an open platform. Anyone can use it. It's very nice. It was put out there by it's on the roof of the Digital Catapult Center, and it's in partnership with OpenTRV, and OpenTRV are an interesting company. We had them in speaking at the Red Monk Thing Monk event in December, and the year before as well. The last 2 Thing Monks, they were there, what this does is, it's not even 5 kilometers, it's 5 miles in urban and 8 miles in suburban areas. It's a radio transmission system that sensors can talk to, and it operates in the ISM band at 868 and 915 megahertz. It's low power, so a sensor that's using it can go for many years on a 200 milliamp hour battery, which is a tiny battery. I mean, the battery in my phone is probably around 2,000 milliamp hours or even greater. So having a small 200 milliamp hour battery operate for many years is really impressive. So it doesn't have anything like the power profile of 3G, Wi-Fi, or Bluetooth. It's much, much lower than that. So the idea is that these would mesh network around the city. This is the first one in London. As I said, the idea is they would mesh around the city, and basically you could go from one to the other, from one end of the city to the other in literally speed of light, basically.
Yeah.
So it's fast, it's low latency, it's low power, and it's a way of transmitting data from sensors to wherever you want it to get to.
And I didn't quite understand what LoRa was whenever I first saw the link when you sent it to me this morning or this afternoon. I was like, what the hell is that? And when I actually looked at it, I thought, that is just brilliant. Mesh networks are, we talk about decentralized power generation and energy and things like that there. And, mesh networks offer us exactly the same type of capability, this decentralization and multi-pathing and things like that there. So it's actually, mesh networks are hugely exciting. So they are, especially for community projects and things like that. So yeah, and especially for IoT as well, you can get communities actually building and working with their own IoT platforms and things like that, especially in remote villages and stuff, and using mesh networking to do some amazing stuff.
And like I say, in an urban environment, the LoRa one can go 8 miles.
Yeah.
So rolling out a mesh network is not that difficult when you've got 8 miles between base stations.
No, exactly. Imagine what you could do, especially whenever you take somewhere like Shoreditch, for example, which is, it's a tech-based sort of area of London or whatever, and a lot of very switched-on companies and things. Being able to deploy a mesh network in that type of environment, sponsored by those companies, just be the things you could do with it would be amazing. Be absolutely amazing.
Anywho, that's our show for today.
Yeah.
thank you so much, Chris, for helping out again, as usual, being co-host. And thanks to everyone for watching. And we shall be back same time next week. And hope you enjoy it.
Definitely. Thank you very much. Have a good weekend, everybody.